the giant with 10 heads before us, is the super demon Ravana from Indian mythology. This is his first time unleashing his full power, because he is facing the human king Rama. The power of heavenly thunder descends from the sky. The demon king is determined to end the battle with this full force strike. Will King Rama be able to withstand this world-ending blow? Why do the gods stand on the opposing side? At this moment, the demon king Ravana is cultivating at the peak of the snowy mountain. Suddenly, a dazzling lightning bolt descends. From it emerges an old man with a white beard. The visitor is none other than the supreme creator god Agni. Moved by Ravana's sincerity, he granted him the gift of immortality. From then on, nothing in the world could harm him. Even when facing gods, he could fight back. Ravana's ambitions were fulfilled. He turned around and revealed a brazen smile. Ravana no longer concealed his strength. He instantly grew 9 heads. Thus, the most powerful 10-headed demon king in Indian mythology was born. Back in the mortal realm, Ravana possessed immense combat power. He completely crushed opposing nations. In less than 10 years, he cleared all obstacles. He chose the site of Lankapura to establish his kingdom. To maintain his divine power, Ravana built a temple to Shiva in his kingdom. To demonstrate his devotion, he erected 4 powerful statues in the temple. Moreover, Ravana played music and prayed in the temple every day. Even if his fingertips bled, he would not stop. He believed that this would grant him divine inspiration. However, today the strings suddenly snapped. This made Ravana feel uneasy. At that moment, he saw his sister walking slowly toward him. The veiled woman suddenly unveiled her sari, and what was incongruent with her delicate face was a prominent scar on her nose. It turned out that just a moment ago, the woman had gone out to hunt and encountered a man under the waterfall. The woman was instantly attracted. She expressed a desire to bear him many children. The man rejected her on the spot because he already had a wife. As Ravana's sister, she had never been turned down before. The woman directly approached the man's wife, Kina, and unleashed her divine power, ready to kill her rival. Fortunately, at that moment, the man's brother appeared. He shot an arrow that pierced the woman's nose. At that moment, she realized that the 2 men before her were both princes of Ayodhya. The one she had just set her sights on was the eldest prince, Rama. Tired of the political struggles in his homeland, he had retreated here with his wife. Thus, the unwilling woman returned to the temple. She hoped her brother would avenge her, and claimed that Kina was the most beautiful woman in the world, and that only the most beautiful woman deserved the most powerful brother. Hearing this, Ravana was very pleased. He became so excited that all his 10 heads appeared. On the other side, Rama and Kina were expressing their love by the river. Suddenly, a golden deer jumped out from the herd by the shore. In India, the golden deer is a blessing from the gods. It symbolizes the loyalty and happiness of their relationship. Kina was overjoyed. She immediately asked Rama to catch it for her. Rama naturally would not refuse. He immediately set off to chase it. After a series of chasing, he was surprised to find that the golden deer suddenly stopped halfway. It actually spoke, mimicking Rama's voice, calling out his brother Lakshmana's name. Kina heard her husband's cry for help. She thought he was in danger, so Kina asked Lakshmana to assist Rama. However, Lakshmana remembered his brother's instructions. He refused to leave this place even a step, but Kina was anxious and insisted firmly. Lakshmana was also quite uneasy. In desperation, he shot a divine arrow, setting up a barrier of truth at the entrance of the cave. He asked Kina that no matter what happened, she should not leave this place. At that moment, Rama finally caught up with the golden deer. He shot an arrow that brought the golden deer down. As he approached, a shocking sight appeared before him. The golden deer transformed back into a human. Rama realized he had been deceived, and Lakshmana's arrival made him even more anxious. It was clear that both of them had fallen into a trap. Sure enough, Ravana had now transformed into a hermit. He approached Kina and begged for food. Kina did not forget her brother's instructions. She took out food and motioned for him to help himself. He directly stated that Kina was insincere. Ravana was very angry and decided to leave. Before leaving, he threatened that he initially intended to bless Rama, but seeing her unkindness, it seemed unnecessary now. Kina was alarmed. Such words in India, a country honoring the gods, could be considered a severe curse. She hurriedly stopped the hermit. Kina stepped out of the barrier. Just as she was offering the food, Ravana used his magic to directly stun her. A giant bat that had been waiting in the distance flew in. This was Ravana's unique flying mount. By the time Rama and Laxmana arrived, Ravana had long since flown away from the scene. Just as he thought his plan was successfully implemented, a giant eagle attacked. The two engaged in an intense aerial battle. During this time, whether it was vines entangling, or the interference of the lake waters, none could hinder the eagle's pursuit. Ravana became impatient from the disturbance. He directly summoned a bat army to trap the eagle. Then he wielded a crescent-shaped blade that he conjured. The giant eagle, having lost its ability to fly, plummeted from the sky. Ravana also departed under the protection of the bats. Rama watched as the demon king receded into the distance. He knelt on the ground and vowed, no matter where he was, he would seek revenge for the abduction of his wife. He and Laxmana first cremated the divine eagle. Then they prepared to go to Lanka. Meanwhile, the giant bats soared across the sea, carrying Ravana and Kinna back to their homeland. Now, Lanka had grown immensely in size. Various giant soldiers stood guard at the city walls. Seeing their king's return, they all bowed in reverence. The queen, waiting for her husband, saw that the abducted woman was Kinna, and her expression darkened immediately. Ravana's sister, however, was filled with joy. It turned out that the queen was a seer. She solemnly stated that Kinna's presence heralded the approaching danger for Ravana. Misfortune was about to descend upon Lanka. On the other side, Rama and his brother were still anxious about defeating Ravana. Although they were princes, they had lived in seclusion for so many years, they had lost their power. Just as they were at their wits' end, a figure emerged from the shadows in the distance. Laxmana was the first to notice, and knocked an arrow in caution. As the figure approached, he discovered that it was a frail old woman. Rama, kind-hearted, helped her up, and invited her to sit down to warm herself. The old woman took out candied dates from her bundle, and gestured for Rama to taste it. One of the dates had even been taken a bite. Rama ate it without any hesitation. Seeing that this man had a broad mind, the old woman was very pleased. She stood up, and walked toward the bonfire. The old woman transformed with the power of the flames. It turned out that she was the incarnation of Agni, the fire god. The fire god informed Rama that to rescue his wife, he must go to Mount Sharmuga, and find the monkey god Hanuman. Only with his strength could he defeat the demon king. Thus, the two brothers headed to Mount Sharmuga. As soon as they entered the mountain, Hanuman was already waiting at the foot of the mountain to greet them. They engaged in friendly conversation, and quickly confirmed that they were indeed the ones they had been looking for. Hanuman had already received divine inspiration, and Rama was the one who had awakened his divine power. As expected, after the two embraced, Hanuman was surrounded by a radiant golden light. The suppressed divine power awakened. The divine monkey immediately knelt and declared that he would sacrifice his life for him. Under Hanuman's guidance, the three arrived atop the mountain. The king of the monkey kingdom, Sugriva, personally welcomed them. Rama candidly stated that he needed the monkey kingdom's assistance to eliminate the demon king Ravana and rescue Kinna. Sugriva was already aware of this matter, but now he was willing but powerless. It turned out that his brother Vala had staged a coup to seize power. Sugriva was no longer able to command the monkey army. Upon hearing this, Rama promised to help Sugriva reclaim his throne. The two immediately formed an alliance. Without further ado, they led Sugriva's royal guards toward the palace of the monkey kingdom. The war drums roared, shaking the ground. The usurper Vali was willing to accept the challenge. His descent from the sky was imposing. Sugriva faced him fearlessly, holding his head high. The battle for the Monkey King was instantly ignited. As the battle began, Sugriva found himself at a disadvantage. Vala's attacks were fierce. Sugriva found it hard to defend himself. After enduring Vala's initial assaults, Sugriva found an opportunity to use the vines to soar into the air. Sugriva seized the chance to launch a counterattack against Vali. However, Sugriva's harassment tactics still did not succeed. Vala ruthlessly grabbed a weapon nearby. He vowed to eliminate his opponent. Not only that, he threw Sugriva away and damaged the mountainside. Vala knew his brother all too well. Sugriva would certainly prioritize protecting his subjects over himself. Vala's ruthless methods angered Rama. At the same time, he was moved by Sugriva's kindness and bravery. He drew his long bow and shot through Vali, who was preparing to leap with his axe. At this moment, the mountainside was on the verge of collapse. All the monkeys had already fled. Sugriva suddenly let go. Soon he emerged from the dust and smoke. Thus, Sugriva not only gained Rama's recognition, but also made the subjects of the monkey kingdom submit. All the monkeys knelt to welcome their new king. Then everyone began to plan the attack to Lanka. The Black Bear advisor suggested that they should not attack blindly, but first conduct reconnaissance before the battle. This task was assigned to Hanuman. Rama handed a token to Hanuman. Only by seeing this would Kinna truly feel at ease while waiting. Meanwhile, preparations for the battle were underway. Ravana was also very troubled, but his anxiety was not about military affairs, but rather Kinna's hunger strike, as a declaration of her will. Seeing that this beautiful woman was about to starve to death, Ravana was even willing to hand over the entire kingdom of Lanka to win the goddess's favor. However, Kinna was not swayed by various temptations. Her heart would always follow Rama. At this moment, Hanuman had arrived at the seaside, facing the vast and endless ocean. Everyone could only look at each other helplessly. The Black Bear approached Hanuman and began to recount stories from Hanuman's childhood. This divine monkey, in his youth, could swallow the sun itself. Now, facing the vast ocean, is there really no way out? These words ignited Hanuman's fighting spirit. His divine power surged within him, and his body grew to over 10 meters tall. Hanuman took a running leap, and ultimately transformed into a superhuman, soaring toward Lanka at incredible speed. With his divine powers, Hanuman had no rivals in Lanka. He soon found the weak in Kinna. He first presented the token to comfort Kinna, and told her to take care of herself. Rama would arrive soon to rescue her. Just as hope ignited in Kinna's heart, the maidservant attending her spotted Hanuman, so she immediately called for the guards. But how could these little minions be his match? The divine monkey easily knocked down the captain. Just as he was about to create chaos in Lanka, Ravana's son arrived. He threw a dart that transformed into a giant net, directly capturing Hanuman. The prince of Lanka brought him to his father for punishment. Ravana ordered that he be put to death on the spot. Thus, the guards took Hanuman to the rooftop, first setting his tail on fire, and then throwing him down. This made Hanuman very confused. After all, he was a human-shaped bomber. The falling divine monkey soared back into the sky. The flames on his tail transformed him into a fire monkey. Hanuman flew straight to Ravana's armory. During this time, the minions nearby attempted to block him, but they were all knocked into the water by Hanuman. After a massive destruction, more than half of the warships in the armory were destroyed. Hanuman then returned to Kinna's side. He wanted to take her away immediately. Unexpectedly, Kinna refused. She stated that she would wait here for Rama to arrive. Kinna wanted to see with her own eyes Rama killing the demon king at the city gates. Seeing the woman so resolute, Hanuman could only take Kinna's bracelet and fly away from Lanka on his own. Meanwhile, Rama's monkey army had also been gathered together. They gazed at the vast ocean with sighs. Hanuman could move mountains and cross seas with his divine power. But how could these 100,000 soldiers get across? Seeing no way out, Rama stepped onto the rocks to address the sea god, and earnestly prayed for him to part the waters for the army's advance. The waves crashed against him. The sea god responded to Rama's plea in this manner. Insulted, Rama was filled with rage. He immediately drew his bow and knocked an arrow. Divine power surged throughout his body. This bow is no ordinary weapon. It is called the bow of Indra. Indra has a more widely known name, which is king of the gods. This shows its immense power. Rama aimed the arrow at the ocean. The sea god, shocked, immediately appeared, stating that no one could move the ocean water, but he could guarantee that from now on, the stones thrown by Rama and the monkeys would no longer sink. Thus, the monkeys began to carve mountains and build bridges. Soon, an unsinkable stone bridge across the sea was completed. Rama's army set off once again. At this time, Ravana had not yet realized what was happening. He was still feeding his pet bats, unaware that Rama had already crossed the sea, aiming for Lanka, until one of his generals came to report. Only then did he realize that a great battle was imminent. Ravana urgently mobilized his forces, while he rode his bat to survey the battlefield. As he landed, Ravana's son also stepped out from the ranks, with Kinna following behind. Bound by iron chains, Ravana signaled his son to release the woman. This left everyone present puzzled. Freed from her bonds, Kinna rushed toward Rama. Just as the two were about to embrace, the Prince of Lanka used his teleportation magic and slit Kinna's throat in front of everyone. Rama was taken aback with shock and hurriedly embraced her. Then an astonishing scene unfolded. Kinna not only did not die, but let out an eerie laugh. A black mist transformed the beauty into a bald figure. It turned out this was all Ravana's illusion. The purpose was to disrupt Rama's mind. After being toyed with, Rama was enraged. He charged forward alone. The warriors behind him also began to follow suit. Due to Rama pushing too far ahead, he was quickly surrounded by enemies. To rescue their commander, Hanuman, Sugriva, and Lakshmana flew into the enemy ranks first. However, the enemy troops did not charge forward, but instead, Ravana's son fought alone. Rama closed his eyes and held his breath, using his instincts to sense the opponent's position. Then he swept his bow across. Ravana's son barely dodged. He turned and released two magical serpents. Seeing that Rama could not evade, his brother Lakshmana flew in front of him. Lakshmana, poisoned by the dark magic, fainted on the spot. The Prince of Lanka easily took down Rama's vanguard team. Thus, he issued a harsh warning, telling them to quickly surrender and leave, or else his army would kill everyone here. After saying that, he walked away. Rama could only return to the camp with his brother for treatment, but the dark poison was highly toxic, and no one could do anything. At this critical moment, a man and woman approached by boat from the distant sea. As they came closer, everyone realized it was Ravana's brother, Vibhishana. Vibhishana knelt as soon as he reached the shore, and stated that he and his wife could no longer tolerate their brother's acts. They were willing to surrender to Rama, and they pleaded with him to save the collapsing kingdom of Lanka. Rama immediately accepted Vibhishana, and promised that as long as he defeated Ravana, he would support Vibhishana to ascend to the throne. Then Vibhishana revealed a way to save his brother, which was that on the towering Mount Dronagiri, there was a plant called Sanjeevani. This plant could cure the dark poison. Thus, Hanuman once again summoned his divine power, and rushed straight to Mount Dronagiri. However, upon reaching his destination, Hanuman looked at the vast array of plants, and realized he could not recognize the Sanjeevani plant at all. In a moment of desperation, an astonishing scene emerged. Hanuman lifted the entire Mount Dronagiri and flew back. The colossal mountain, blocking out the sun, shocked everyone. After a night of treatment, Lakshmana gradually regained consciousness. Rama once again assembled his army. Before the final battle, Rama bathed in the moonlight, and made his final battle speech. All the warriors were filled with fervor, vowing to capture Lanka, and slay the demon king. Meanwhile, Ravana was still enjoying a spa treatment with snakes. Upon receiving the reports, he paid no heed to this rabble, believing that just his son and the giant general would suffice, and that Rama's army would collapse without him lifting a finger. Now, 100,000 monkey soldiers were at the gates, and the guards of Lanka were on high alert. The beastmen soldiers began with long-range stone bombardments. The battlefield was suddenly filled with flames and tremors, yet this did not hinder the army's speed. The monkeys rushed toward the city wall. They climbed the walls directly without any ladder. In the face of this situation, the commanding general in charge of the defenses was not anxious. He ordered the mechanisms to be activated. The first battle did not go well. Even the king of the monkeys was at risk of being slain by blades. Arrows flew through the air and directly severed the mechanisms. The monkey king looked up from afar and saw Rama standing on Hanuman. Joining the battle, Rama drew his bow and knocked an arrow. He accurately shot down all the flying discs. Taking this opportunity, the monkey army finally scaled the city walls and engaged in close combat with the enemy guards. After the chaotic battle, Rama also charged into the battlefield. Facing this group of minions, Rama didn't even need to draw a weapon, and knocked out the approaching soldiers with just a few slaps. On the other side, Hanuman had no rivals. Standing several dozen feet tall, he wielded a massive hammer and rampaged across the battlefield as if crushing ants. Rama noticed the commanding general overseeing the defenses. He leapt from the city wall, at the cost of his own safety, and shot an arrow through the general's throat in midair. The commander fell in battle. Ravana's army became even more chaotic. Taking this opportunity, the king of the monkeys opened the city gates, and the remaining army finally rushed into the city. However, they had not taken more than a few steps before being incinerated by flames spewing from within. Ravana's giant general appeared. Hanuman could not stand that there was someone taller than him here. and immediately charged forward to engage him in combat. However, the opponent was indeed a formidable general under Ravana's command, and possessed incredible strength. In just a few moves, he struck Hanuman to fly. Seeing that Hanuman was about to be defeated, Rama shot another arrow. Even though the giant had tough skin and thick flesh, he could not withstand the power of the bow of Indra. He first pierced the giant's right arm. 2 more arrows followed in quick succession, and directly penetrated the giant's chest. Meanwhile, Lakshmana's special forces infiltrated the city. Their target was the Prince of Lanka. At that moment, the prince had just walked out from the bath. Lakshmana drew his bow and nocked an arrow, preparing to launch a surprise attack from behind. The teleportation mage keenly sensed the impending danger. He acted first, but he was still thrown into the water. Just as the Prince of Lanka prepared to attack others, Lakshmana unexpectedly emerged from the water, grabbing the prince's ankle and dragging him into the lake. Without solid ground beneath him, the prince's teleportation magic could not be used. With no other choice, he could only engage Lakshmana in underwater hand-to-hand combat. In less than 10 minutes, Lakshmana successfully turned the tables, but he also consumed too much oxygen and was unable to return to the surface. Just as he thought he would drown in the depths, the Monkey King, Sugriva, appeared and pulled him out of the deep lake. At the last moment, the two successfully returned to the battlefield. The brothers joined forces to fight the enemy. In their seamless coordination, they overlooked the beastmen soldiers. Ravana lost 2 of his generals, and even his own son died on the battlefield. The morale of the soldiers below also went lower. The battle situation took a sudden turn for the worse. Ravana finally went to the field. He summoned the bat army, and the bats, blocking out the sun, flew toward the battlefield. Seeing that the scales of victory were tilting in his favor, Ravana leapt down from the high platform and summoned his mount, the Bat King, to sweep recklessly across the battlefield. Hanuman soared into the sky, relentlessly pursuing them. The Bat King sensed he was being followed and increased its altitude, attempting to elude the chase. However, Hanuman grabbed the Bat King's tail with a powerful swing, brought his massive hammer smashing down. The Bat King fell dead, but Ravana vanished into thin air. At this moment, Rama looked up and noticed an even larger bat, which was flying directly toward him. At the last moment, it transformed into Ravana. The gigantic 10-headed demon king stood before Rama. This was their first encounter. Ravana used only one hand to strike Rama back 100 meters. Then the two began to unleash attacks on the minions. Ravana summoned the power of lightning, sweeping it around himself recklessly. During this time, Lakshmana attempted to counterattack, but he could not inflict any damage on Ravana. Ravana summoned lightning once more, and this attack shot directly toward Rama. Rama unleashed the power of Indra within him. He successfully neutralized the attack. Seeing that the lightning was ineffective, Ravana transformed his weapon into a battle axe and stepped forward, preparing for close combat. In the beginning, Rama could still defend himself, but Ravana was just too powerful. Ordinary attacks were like child's play to him. During this time, Rama took the opportunity to push him. Ravana was furious and punched him away. Then he pursued, raising his axe. Just as Rama was about to be struck, he turned in midair and shot an arrow, which pierced Ravana's throat directly. Everyone on the battlefield was stunned by this scene. Could the invincible demon king Ravana be finished here? But let us not forget Ravana's title, the 10-headed demon king. Ravana not only did not die, but instead began to laugh heartily. He showed no fear in facing Rama's follow-up attacks. Rama was exhausted, just as Ravana prepared to take advantage of his fatigue and end him. The situation took a turn. This is a divine revelation. Rama bathed in holy light, closing his eyes in prayer. Ravana, however, had already leapt up with his axe, ready to strike him down in one blow. Fortunately, Hanuman stepped forward and snatched Rama away from beneath the axe. Ravana, having failed multiple times, revealed his true form. His form became gigantic, and the 10 heads appeared. Unlike before when only the heads would manifest, this time, Ravana's 10 heads and torso materialized. Each body held a sacred artifact. Ravana summoned the power of lightning once more. This power caused everyone to tremble, yet they showed no fear. He stood high in the sky. Rama had received the blessings of Indra. He went down on one knee, drawing his bow toward the heaven. Golden light appeared, This is no longer a war of mortals, but a confrontation among the gods of India. The divine arrow shot through the air, striking directly at Ravana's navel. Ravana was impervious to blades and flames, but his navel was his only weakness. The divine power began to wreak havoc within Ravana's body. His massive form could no longer withstand it. Soon, he fell in agony. Then Ravana vanished entirely into the black mist. Rama had finally defeated the demon king, and rescued his wife, Kina. As the dust settled, the two embraced and wept. Through this battle, Rama gained the attention of the world, and upon returning to Ayodhya, he successfully ascended the throne. The film concludes here. This blockbuster, adapted from the Indian epic Ramayana, caused a sensation upon its release, with its magnificent special effects and rich epic storyline, broke the world's prejudice against Indian cinema, and some critics even remarked that its quality surpassed that of The Lord of the Rings. For those interested in such special effects blockbusters, you can check out the original film Adipurish. If you enjoy my channel, please click to subscribe.